Hey y'all.
Hi guys, I'm Claire and this is my last study essay school vlog for now. I wrapped up my last English lit essay of my undergraduate degree, and what do you know, your girl ended up procrastinating yet again. So this is a video diary of me trying to complete this 5-page paper in one weekend.
I'm officially nearing the end of my degree. So I thought, what better way to go out of my degree filled with procrastination than procrastinating my final essay. Actually, that was not planned. I did not plan to procrastinate my essay. If anything, I wanted to show to myself that I could finish at least one of my essays at a reasonable pace, but that did not happen. I am writing an essay last minute. I have a weekend to write it. Not terrible. It's not like an overnight kind of thing, even though I probably will stay up overnight tonight. I'm honestly kind of excited to write this essay. The topics of this essay, oh my god. The professor of this course has honestly been one of my favorite professors, a PhD student who's a course instructor. I don't think he's tenured. I wish he was. That man deserves it. He's very young, so he's very passionate about what he's teaching still. Also, all of his essay topics are hilarious and trendy and hip, and I chuckled to myself when reading them. For example, my essay topic is based on the prompt, "Somebody's watching me, it's my anxiety." I think we all know what he's referencing here. Basically, this prompt is asking me to discuss how two different authors that we studied during this course incorporate themes of watching, voyeurism, or surveillance at the level of style, structure, and character. Is this man not genius? How did he come up with these prompts? I'm gonna walk you through my process. I'm actually excited about this because I really enjoyed the course texts for this class. Authors that I've decided to write about are Raymond Carver, Mohsen Hamid. He wrote The Reluctant Fundamentalist. Hey girl, so I did not do any work. It's the nighttime. So there is something deeply wrong with me. I've never met anyone as avoidant as I am. I'm the most avoidant girl in the school. Yeah, you wanna know what I've been doing instead? I have been watching New Girl on 2x speed. Girl, New Girl is one of the most wholesome shows out there. Like, please. New Girl, like, I watched very late. Everything I feel like I'm exposed to now has not really developed that nostalgia for me, so I don't really, it's entertaining, but I don't hold any significance of it. New Girl is one of the rare shows that I watched like very recently, and it has cemented itself as one of my favorite TV shows because it's just so heartwarming. It's just the way that these characters interact with each other, the friendships they develop, this, like, the roommate dynamics. It's just so wholesome. It's so freaking wholesome. And I love the female friendship between Jess and Cece, and I love the male friendships. And Schmidt is probably my favorite character. The way that Schmidt mispronounces things and the way he's so like emphatic in his expressions, and I feel like they're my friends. Like, so I guess I am still procrastinating. But the thing is, like, I genuinely don't think I am going to be able to function in this room because it's so nasty out here. Also, I'm probably gonna have a dance party or two because I just ate some craft dinner and I've been eating the most random things because I have no groceries. I feel like all of my study vlogs recently have been like in this lighting, which is the lighting in my room at night. No natural lighting for me because I don't operate on normal hours, and I'm in my bed because this is kind of my workspace, and I've been very sedentary recently. Actually, that's not true. I walk an average of like 2 hours a day. Tasks for the next hour. Dance party in my room. Just a young girl in her 20s dancing in her room at 2 a.m. Is that too much to ask for? I don't think so. And then after I have a dance party, actually no, these are gonna happen in conjunction. I'm gonna have a dance party and I'm gonna clean my room at once, simultaneously. They are not mutually exclusive. I have no idea what that means. If you ask me what kind of person I want to be, I want to be someone who's able to use the terms mutually exclusive really confidently, but I always forget what they mean. I look it up every single time. I never know what I just can't, it just doesn't stick in my head. When I use it in conversation, I just throw it out there, hope that the context I use it in is correct, and most of the time it isn't. Near to where I live, like a little food bubble court opened up, and it's like Bouston, which is a really well-known shawarma place in Montreal, and Madame Poulet opened, which I have been hitting Madame Poulet too many times recently because Madame Poulet is having $4.99 burger deal, and this is unfortunate for me because I would have used this food court so much in my like initial years in college. It was Bouston and Madame Poulet. You know, girl, I would have been hitting that every single day. I hit that twice today. Yeah, I hit that today at like 2 p.m. and I hit it like at 2 a.m. Actually, I haven't hit it today because today is the next day. I've been talking for way too long. I'm gonna start cleaning. I'm gonna throw some things out. As you can see in my little corner here, I got some trash. In this corner, I also got some trash. You can see like the 2 Madame Poulet containers. Like, look at that. And look at that. You can see right, yeah. So, not great. Not great for me. I don't really have a thesis figured out right now. Oh my gosh, I look so rough. I'm just going through one of the course texts
which is The Reluctant Fundamentalist, and I'm just kind of looking through for examples of when the narrator served this role as a voyeur. So I'm like looking for quotes where he was like observing. For example, in this one, he's in the limo with his boss and they're going to some sort of party. Jim observed the conversation in silence. Then he glanced in my direction and I had to avert my eyes so that he did not catch me observing him. But he continued to look at me in his steady, penetrating manner until eventually he said, "You're a watchable guy." You know where that comes from? It comes from feeling out of place. Writing that one down because I'm trying to come up with a creative way of starting this essay, and I want to tie in the fact that the prompt that he provided, you started with a Doechii lyric. I want to reference Doechii at some point in my intro or in my title. I want something a little bit cheeky because he was cheeky with the prompt. We've opened up the door to cheekiness. I'll check in once I figure it out. Okay, I've decided to just cut it. They're about different things. Starting sentence is, the achingly human experience of watching others from a distance is an experience. I use the word experience twice. I need to find a different word for that. Okay guys, this is what I have so far. So I don't have much, and I haven't even started Carver yet. Carver's short stories were my favorite part of the course. My first body paragraph, I'm going to talk about how he observes Western culture from an outsider perspective. I'm going to bring up specific incidents when this is really clear. I'm going to talk about quotes where he's observing people. I'm going to talk about the time he goes on vacation with a bunch of like white Ivy League folks, and he's really thinking about the way that they interact. They kind of have this like ungrateful American air to them. I'm going to talk about the way that he views the West, all of like the parties, the events that Erica introduces him to and brings him to, but despite the fact that she is kind of this doorway for him to enter this world and enter this secret club, he can only really observe from the sidelines even when he's there. I'm going to talk about how Erica represents America. Someone brought this up in class. They were like, I don't think it's a coincidence that like his love interest, who he pursues the entirety of the novel, is named Erica after America, because his true desire is to integrate. I'm gonna talk about like voyeurism through this idea that he's kind of playing this part, trying to imitate and follow the stage directions so that he can properly play the part of your American. We can especially see this when he literally takes on the role of Chris, like Erica's ex-boyfriend, when he tells her, okay, just like pretend that I'm Chris. That's the only way they're able to be intimate with each other, is when he has to adopt this character of an American white man to be accepted. And that is going to be my first body paragraph. So, as I mentioned, this is an essay on voyeurism and how these authors incorporate themes of watching, voyeurism, or surveillance at the level of style, structure, and character. Which, although voyeurism has a sexual connotation in common use, the concept we're exploring here is more of a fascination with observing other people's private lives. It's an experience where you disengage from your own life to observe others. So anything from watching reality TV to people watching at cafes to putting on someone's vlogs are all examples of this curiosity we have of watching others from a distance. One of the authors I chose to talk about, who ended up being one of my favorite authors ever, and reason for one of the very few times I was brave enough to raise my hand and share in class, is Raymond Carver. To give some context, Carver was born in 1938 in Oregon to a working class family. Throughout his life, he had financial difficulties. He struggled with addiction and alcoholism, and he had many affairs, all of these serving as some of the subjects of his short stories. Carver is famous for literary minimalism, which is a technique characterized by stripped down storytelling, which is also really reflective of the stripped down lifestyle he was trying to portray. He was writing about waitresses, teachers, salesmen. I really liked how it was put in this article by David Boxer and Cassandra Phillips. Typically, Carver writes about characters whose lives are in suspended animation, verging on disarray. The salesman between jobs, the writer between stories, the student between semesters, the husband or wife between marriages, and the insomniac, caught between waking consciousness and the escape of sleep. Voyeurism is present throughout a lot of Carver's short stories, whether that takes the form of an actual person in his stories watching others, or if the reader serves as the voyeur. One of my favorite short stories we read by him was called Gazebo, and I don't really know why it's one of my favorites. I don't even know if I would call it a favorite. That feels a little bit masochistic. It more so episode just made me feel a lot. It follows this married couple who manages a hotel together. Holly, the wife, handles the books, and the narrator does the maintenance. The story drops us right in the middle of a conversation they're having at the end of their relationship, when I think it's implied she's known about the affair that he's been having, but only now have they realized they needed to have a discussion about it. And it's something about the grittiness of this conversation, him including details and little parts of this interaction that just feels so human. The fact that they spend the entire day mourning the end of this relationship, her threatening to jump out the window, them taking a nap together during the middle of it. They drink and they drink while talking in circles. They ask really uncomfortable questions like, did you do it with the maid in this bed? Carver just paints a scene that feels so pedestrian and common and low. It almost makes you feel a little bit icky because we're not used to seeing this side of relationships. This is not typically the part of a love story you see broadcasted across the screen or written about in books. At the same time, it also feels as though the narrator is a voyeur witnessing his own life happen, and he doesn't seem to have very much control. I mean, in this conversation, he thinks to himself that Holly is his own true love, and then while he's begging for her forgiveness, he's thinking about the maid he cheated on her with. It just doesn't really seem like he actually knows what he wants past momentary thoughts and impulse. And while he's thinking about the maid and making the realization of how awful that makes him, he thinks to himself, I don't know what's going to happen to me or to anyone else in this world. It gives us the impression that he's almost a witness of his own life. And isn't that an experience we've all had at some point, that we don't actually have control over what happens to us? We're just passive actors. At the end of the story, he tries to convince her that they have all of these grand memories to look back on. He's using the memory of the crud on their hotel pool as a Hail Mary, and Holly is not buying it, rightfully so. It's almost as though he's trying to manufacture this grief for himself to feel because that's what he thinks he should be feeling. I've been trying to think about why exactly Carver's stories are so popular when they make you feel so empty, and they don't really have any sort of moral takeaway. It really just feels like you're a voyeur for a brief moment looking through the window into a fleeting moment of other people's lives. But when I was doing research, I read this Reddit comment that said that's why Carver's works were so great. His stories haunt people forever, and you never really figure out why. Looking back now and rethinking about this topic, I thought about how voyeurism has evolved from Carver's time and how it permeates my own life. We have unprecedented accessibility into the lives of other people with social media now, and almost everybody has some sort of online persona. Voyeurism has adopted this new form of witnessing each other's lives, each other's graduations and weddings and newborns through screens. Working as a waitress has also helped me reflect on this topic. This is what I have spent my last 2 shifts thinking about. Serving gives me an almost out-of-body experience because you're like the ultimate voyeur. But what I mean by this is you're basically a voyeur into dozens of lives for the evening, and I feel like this little satellite orbiting a bunch of universes at once that I'm not a part of. And so I don't really feel like a real person when I'm serving because I'm just witnessing the lives of other people, and I'm hearing bits of conversation here and there about work and family and friend drama, and I spend 5 hours trying to speculate what the relationship between the 2 people at table B6 is, or what job the man at table A4 has that he's talking shit about local politicians as though they're his co-workers. And I think that this feeling can be translated to other forms of voyeurism, whether or not that's witnessing each other's lives through the internet, because being exposed to that many people and lives can feel really isolating. And it's interesting because it's when the dinner rush slows, when I get to debrief with my coworker about the tables that stiffed me or gossip I heard, that I feel re-anchored in my body, and I remember that I also have a life. Yeah, I started writing this whole spiel thinking I'm just going to spew words off of the top of my head and apologize at the end for not having said anything coherent with any takeaway. But I think I actually did find a takeaway for myself, which is that too much exposure to other people's lives detract from me living my own. Of course, I think there's a fine balance to this because I don't think there's any harm to watching reality TV or people watching at cafes or watching people's vlogs. These are all activities I thoroughly enjoy taking part of, that if anything I think benefit me. I think it can make us feel a lot less lonely in our own experiences, which is probably why Carver's works were and are so impactful. But I think there's a fine line to this, and at some point you need to withdraw from the bleachers of other people's lives and return to live your own. So yeah, did I go through that long meandering thought process to effectively tell myself that I need to touch grass? Yeah, that brings us to the end of this vlog. If you're still watching, thank you so much. I know I talked more about what I was studying than actually vlogging things. But I've been out of school for a few months and I really miss it. And so making this vlog gave me the chance to slip back into that headspace for a little bit. And also this vlog, just like there was not that much to vlog. Like it was literally just me sitting in my bed writing my essay. If you're still watching, I love you so much. Hope you're doing well. And I'll see you in the next one.